Hello and welcome back to Pharmacist Diaries, the podcast that reveals the secret lives of pharmacists, from where their journeys began, where they are now, and everything in between. I am your host, Anisha Patel, and today I am so excited to introduce Safiye Cagansel to the podcast. Safiye is the current International Pharmaceutical Federation's Early Careers Pharmaceutical Group's president. Yes, that's a lot of words. This is FIP, the Early Careers Pharmaceutical Group's president. She is an absolute superstar pharmacist. I am incredibly proud and inspired to host this episode simply because Safiye has been involved in so many organizations on a national and international scale. She is also the owner of a community pharmacy, which she ventured into at the age of 23. What an incredible and inspiring achievement for her as such a young pharmacist to go out and own your own pharmacy. We talk about this experience of entrepreneurship, owning your own business, as well as having to travel nationally and internationally for all of her other commitments within the pharmacy profession. She is an inspiration to young people, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Please go and check out FIP's website, check out the Early Careers Pharmaceutical Group's page on there. Once you become a member with FIP, you can automatically become a member of the Early Pharmaceutical Careers Group. If you are less than 8 years qualified from your pharmacy degree or pharmaceutical science degree, you are eligible to join the group. And if you're interested in networking, getting support from other pharmacists from a global scale, because they have access to over 100 countries worth of pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists, then that's the kind of group for you to join. She talks about what they do, what they're getting involved with, and how they're supporting the early careers pharmacists all over the world. And it's an amazing, amazing story. And I can't wait to release this episode. I hope you guys enjoy. Well, here we are. Welcome to Pharmacist Diaries, Safiye, first of all.
Hello. Thanks, Anisha. Thanks for having me here.
I'm absolutely delighted because obviously tonight is a very exciting podcast episode from the kind of perspective of it being a series. And I'm loving my series at the moment. I'm loving the series at the moment because I'm doing one with Great Ormond Street at the moment. So that's been really exciting to showcase pediatrics. But today I am fortunate enough to share your journey with you and showcase what FIP has to offer too.
Amazing. Thanks again for having me as the International Pharmaceutical Federation's Early Career Pharmaceutical Group president. And also, I'm really excited and happy to be sharing my own career growth and how my career has evolved around the local, national, and in the international field. And I hope that it's going to be inspiration for the other early career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists worldwide, that they will be also interested in being involved in the international field and get to work together with us in FIP.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I guess to start off our story and your journey is to find out why you became a pharmacist in the first place.
That is actually a hard question because I have, not really hard, but I have been all the way really passionate about healthcare since my childhood times, and even the times that are the younger generation, like my friends at the time, children, they were playing all the way with like family games and similar things, or playing with their Barbies, and I was most of the time pretending to be a doctor and a pharmacist, just taking care of the health of my family and prescribing the medicines and then like delivering the prescription. And since then, automatically, I don't know why, maybe at the time of my childhood, there has been something that has really affected me that I cannot recall of right now. But since the very early times in my toddler times even, I was really interested in healthcare, and at some point I have thought of having a career in art because I'm also really passionate about art. But then I stick with the original passion of me that was inside of me since my very early ages. And I decided to study medicine at first. My family was really encouraging me about pharmacy profession because that I will be having a brighter future in Cyprus with the rather than medicine and in pharmacy due to the career opportunities and job opportunities in the island. And that I decided that, okay, I am really into pharmacy as well. So why not? Then I give it a go in pharmacy. And after I started pharmacy school, I definitely said that it was the best thing, the decision that I have ever made. That pharmacy as a whole, not just the profession, but the way how we are involved in all settings, from the creation of the medicine, the design of the medicine active ingredient, and being at first place that the patients come for consultation as the primary health and the most accessible healthcare professionals. It is really, like, I'm really enthusiastic about it. So this is why I am really happy to be a pharmacist and that I have chosen pharmacy as my profession.
Yeah, that's an amazing kind of a story. And also, I love the way that you kind of showcase how it's true. Pharmacists are involved from the start of a medication being created all the way to the end of the line in terms of how it reaches the patient and everything in between. So that's, yeah, a really a great part of our profession, gives us the variety in all the jobs that we can do, and makes it a wonderful place to be, really. If you like science, then yeah, it's great. What is pharmacy like in Cyprus?
So mostly in Cyprus, we're having not as broad career fields or specialization fields as in other countries. It is usually community pharmacy that is the most preferred and the most common specialization area. And then there is the hospital pharmacy, as well as industry, very smaller scale compared to community and hospital. And of course, there are other like supply chain and similar career fields for pharmacists. And because it was the most common and that I found myself more fitting in community pharmacy, I have decided that I would be a community pharmacist. But of course, it has been taking me a little bit of time in order to decide on that.
Fair enough. And what was what's university like as a pharmacy student in Cyprus? I assume that you studied in Cyprus for your degree.
Yeah. Yeah, so I studied all the way in Cyprus, but for my university, I went to Famagusta, another city in Cyprus. I studied in EMU. It's a state university that pharmacy school was established very recently. It was the second pharmacy school in the island that I have went to EMU. We had a lot of nationalities and students from different backgrounds and countries. So it was international, and I studied B Pharm degree there. And at the time, because it was pharmacy school was very new in the island as well, like in 2-3 years of time at the time that I started studying. With my friends, we have been searching, and that we came up with the idea about founding the first pharmacy students association there. So after establishing with my friends, 7 different friends, that I took the lead to establish the association, the society there. It has been improved a lot with the campus life, that we have been really active organizing public health events, not only for the public, but also for the pharmacist school and other healthcare schools, so that it will be fostering the interprofessional collaboration, as well as advancing in our education with the help of our professors. We
I
even
love
organize
that.
international congress.
Oh, amazing. I love that. In terms of the curriculum, I'm
Mhm,
asking you these questions out of
mhm,
curiosity, to be honest.
yeah.
In the UK, pharmacy starts off pretty much very much sort of biology, chemistry. You're looking at the initial kind of pharmaceutics modules, and then you're looking at the legal side of pharmacy and getting the basics as to what pharmacists do, the dispensing processes. And then as you go into the second, third, and fourth year, you find that students are becoming more clinical, understanding different diseases and, the impact of medications and the treatment and guidelines, and it becomes very clinical towards second,
Mhm.
third, and fourth year. What is it like for students in Cyprus?
So in the first 2 years, it is more like background information, just as how you have explained. So more in depth about like biology, chemistry, and the profession and the ethics, history, and the ontology, and of course biostatistics and chem biochemistry. And then in the after the second year, second term, and onwards until the fifth year, because it's 5 years in Cyprus. The fifth year being the master's degree. It is calculated as the master's degree. So after the end of like almost the end of the second year and onwards until the fifth year, it is more in depth with the clinical and pathological and the treatment side. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So it's quite similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do you do an internship? Because in the UK, at the end of the 4 years of the course, you do a training pharmacist role,
Mm-hmm.
at which at the end you have an exam. Is it similar in Cyprus?
Yeah, so it's exactly similar. We're having our own board exam, and throughout the studies, we have to have at least 6 months of internship in a community pharmacy or a different setting, but at least 2 months of it has to be in community setting due to the regulations.
Okay, interesting. And do you have to find those opportunities on your own, or do the universities support you with that?
Yeah, it's usually on our own. The university supports until some extent, but it's on the students themselves. And of course, the National Pharmacy Association is supporting until some extent together with the university.
Interesting. I love that. It's good to know about what's happening, in the undergraduate degree in different countries. So, yeah, useful information for sure.
Mhm.
Um, we have obviously a 1 year training year, which we used to have to find ourselves, and we would do applications at a certain point in the fourth year. Um, Usually early on in the fourth year, you would start applying for jobs, and I guess in your first, second, and third year, you would be doing lots of internships in your summer holidays, lots and lots of
Mhm.
work experience to, build your skills, build your knowledge, and be able to then interview really well for a job, of course. And then hospitals would offer summer placements, which were really useful, as do community pharmacies. But now they have transitioned the training year into a sort of national um, recruitment process. So you have certain tests that you have to take, and then you kind of get categorized against all of the other students. You get ranked according to your test results, and you pick like your top locations or pharmacies, community or hospital, as to where you want to work. And depending on your ranking, you would
Mhm.
potentially get the job or you might be placed or be given offers elsewhere. But you can also find opportunities outside of this system. It's only been going on a few years, and it's very similar to what medical students are doing. There's quite a lot of debate as to whether people like it or not. Recruiters, of course, like it because it becomes very centralized, that the individual and structured and fair, that the hospitals, for example, or community pharmacies don't have to have such a laborious recruitment process, because sometimes for these training years, like in London, it's so competitive. You might do an application for a hospital and there could be 150 other fourth year students applying for the same job as you, which is hard to then get shortlisted and get seen as a valuable candidate for the job. So now with the standardization, it makes it a little bit easier. But then there are disadvantages, because if you did a summer placement in this hospital, or you worked as a technician, for example, for all your summers, and then you didn't do so well on the tests and you didn't rank as good on the testing, you potentially wouldn't get a place, even though they know you, they've built a relationship with you, they know your work ethic, and technically, of course, they'd love to hire you. But if you apply through the system, you may not get chosen, which ends up being quite a shame for those students, of course. So it's nice to hear how things are slightly different in other countries. So tell me, when you went to university, what were your thoughts on your career pathway at that time?
At the time, I was still relocating myself. I just wanted to explore all the available options that I can do, not only in Cyprus, but all over the world. So this is why I have been all the way interested in attending the congresses and getting to equip myself more, not only professionally, but also for personal skills too. So this is why I have been attending a lot of congresses, workshops, and events. And that is where I actually found out about the International Pharmaceutical Students Federation, and that we started the journey. And there I have noticed my passion for the NGOs. So that initial seedling has initiated the NGO work and the passion for the public health to evolving into global health in 4 years of time.
Interesting. That's really useful to know, actually. And then when you actually graduated, you finished your kind of internships. What was your first job experience like as a pharmacist?
So at the time of the graduation, I was actually elected as the chairperson of student exchange for the International Pharmaceutical Students Federation's executive committee. So I decided that I would be focusing solely on my my work as part of the IPSF Co. And then for the whole year, I have regulated all the member organization student exchange program, the internship for global, all the pharmacy students and recent graduates, the program that are happening all over the world in the member organizations of IPSF. And that usually back then it was over 1,000 exchanges. So I have been solely focusing on that, and also helping the community pharmacy that I used to have my internship at. And after I have almost completed the mandate, I decided that I would be taking the leap, that I will be staying in Cyprus 100% together with my family, that we have established my own community pharmacy in 2018 in January.
Oh, amazing. That's great news. That's exciting.
So I have
Is that quite common for people, like for the younger generation?
Usually we can say that it is common because we're not having chain pharmacies in Cyprus due to the law. It is only the individual pharmacies that can work as community pharmacies are basically on individuals. And usually whenever we're having the recent graduates and they want to go for a community pharmacy, they work as a secondary pharmacist or for a while, and then they can open their own community pharmacies, of course, after getting approvals with the National Pharmacy Association and the government, of course.
I mean, in your early 20s, like owning your own pharmacy seems incredibly bold and courageous. I feel like if I was in my 20s, it would be the last thing I would be thinking about, because I think we don't learn that much about business as pharmacy students. We don't learn that much about finance either in the UK, how to manage your money, like how would you do marketing, how would you set up services, even how would you raise the funds to buy a pharmacy. All of that as a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old just would seem quite overwhelming in the first 2 to 3 years of their sort of pharmacy journey. You usually would find in the UK that pharmacists kind of move or transition towards buying a pharmacy once they're well established as a professional in the community, and they've really understood what it takes to be a good community pharmacist. They've understood the business through experience of working for someone else. They've, had a really good sort of manager who's kind of guided them along the way. And then they've taken interest in the business aspect and they've kind of learnt through experience. And here you are being super courageous and bold. What were your kind of thought processes and those initial steps that you were thinking when you decided that this is the way forward for me?
So the way forward was basically, as it was the most common to have the community pharmacy, and that I would be first in touch with the patients, and then I will be having my own patient portfolio that I can monitor their health, and I can offer personalized patient tracking, and that I can counsel them and provide their personalized therapy and counseling much better. This was my motivation, but of course, with the economical and financing part and managing a business, it has been a challenging part to make the decision, and also in the first 2 years in order to fully establish and having everything set on a good foundation. It has been challenging, to be honest, but I'm happy that I have been having the support of my family and my close ones, that I can say that I have achieved it with the help of them, that they were there with not only being there by my side and supporting me with their words, but also with the family supporting me in a financial way as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, parents are the best, aren't they? Even mine, I love my parents, and even now they support me. I mean, mainly with kind of childcare and supporting my family from that perspective, which is lovely. And it's such a joy to see them as grandparents. But I can imagine that taking ownership of something so big and taking responsibility for something also so expensive, as a very sort of young 21, 22-year-old, it's such a big commitment. So it clearly demonstrates how determined you are. Like you said, you're doing it for the patients, and you're doing it to build your own portfolio of patients and not kind of work for someone else. And that independence clearly is being demonstrated even by setting up, the pharmacy society while you're at university. And, you've got that idea that, hey, let's build a community with your friends and build a society that can support the public, that can support other students in university as well when it comes to public health, and showcasing what pharmacy is all about. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And I have also worked with the university after the graduation and during the studies, so that was one of the ways too that I wanted to sort of kind of be my own boss, just as how you have mentioned. So to be independent, and that I can set up, of course, with laws and regulations, the vision that I have been seeing for the pharmacy, for the national way, so that I can support. This is why I have also been really encouraged to take active role in the National Pharmacy Association too.
That's a great idea. Yeah, no, I love that. That's great. I guess tell me, you've talked that there have been challenges along the way. I guess what are your top 2 or 3 challenges that have been really sort of hard for you in terms of setting up a business?
So the main challenges were basically because I have worked in a different part of the city, that the pharmacy location that we have chosen was the place that I actually was born and grew in that area, Küçükaymaklı area in Nicosia. And it wasn't a place about like me having an experience as a pharmacist, because every area or like town or city is having different patient portfolios and like different medicine setting, I can say. So this is why it has been one of the challenges at the first time that I have been selecting the medicines and creating the medicines list and overseeing, just like with the prediction part, in order to predict at first. And the second most challenging was about, as I wasn't already over with my mandate, it was 2017 and 2018, and I have established the pharmacy in 2018, that I had to travel for going for face-to-face meetings and the World Congress and work there on a voluntary basis. So I have been having challenges that we can only close the pharmacies as for 8 working days throughout the year due to our regulations. So this is why I had to have a local pharmacist, even though the pharmacy was really recent. So that was the other most challenging part. And about if I can think of a third, I think actually those 2 were the major challenges. And like considering about the business part, and the choosing, predicting at first and having to travel at the very first year, and having someone else to work as the main pharmacist there, and that I had to also work on my own because I have been having locum pharmacists on particular intervals. And until last year, I have been working on my own, even though it's been already 5 years.
Yeah, that must be really hard. So you're getting involved with sort of HR when you're having to recruit people, you're having to interview, look at CVs, and that's quite a big responsibility because at the end of the day, you're hiring someone to look after your own pharmacy. That's like your baby, and you want them to have the same values as you and treat your patients well, and you have to train them to do things the way that you prefer within the pharmacy. You have to deal with staff sickness and annual leave and paying people. It's a lot of responsibility when you start building a team, right? But again, when it comes to a learning experience, it's a huge learning curve. And once you kind of step into it and you kind of, take that bold move that, hey, I'm doing this is happening. I think you learn at a fast pace, and you just learn from experience and you learn from your mistakes on a day-to-day basis. Or this didn't quite work this time, so next time I'm going to try it this way. And you just improve day by day. And like you said, you've got your family support, so hopefully you've been able to have lots of conversations with them, like, I'm frustrated about this, what can I do? And I'm sure your parents and your family have provided you a lot of feedback that has supported your journey. Even in terms of like creating a list and understanding how much to order and when to place your orders so that you don't run out of certain elements of stock. And that's challenging. I dealt with that when I worked in Abu Dhabi and importing drugs from all over the world. We didn't know how much medications that our paramedics would use on the road because we just didn't have enough data at the time to demonstrate the types of conditions that we were seeing, where we would see those conditions, how often they would come up. So, for example, how many EpiPens we might use, how many salbutamol nebules that we would need. And EpiPens took so many months to come into the country because they would come from the UK. But they would get stuck at the airport when you were trying to release the permit. So sometimes they would be there for 2 or 3 months and we'd be waiting for them to get released. Oh. And because the expiry dates are relatively short, we always got to the point where ambulances were having expired EpiPens and we were just like, we haven't got quite the timing quite right. And that was really stressful, managing stock and predicting usage and how much you need and when to order things. Did you have like a computer system, or how were you logging that?
Yeah, all of it is basically monitored via electronic computing system, particularly for the pharmacy. Yeah.
So it makes life a little bit easier, which is good. We did not have an electronic system. It was completely manual when we initially established. So it was a case of when the bags got returned to me for refill. So some of these ambulances would have basic life support bags and advanced life support bags. And I would have PAR levels. So if you had 32 paracetamol tablets, when you hit 20, which seems like quite a high number, I would expect them to start returning it to pharmacy because they were so far away from me, 300 to 400 kilometers, that it would take several days for the bag to even reach me. And then I would refill it and then send it back. But when they came back for refill, I would obviously be able to record manually how much was left and compare it to when I last sent out the bag. So then we started gathering data slowly. But fortunately, we were able to put a business case together to say that this is just taking too long. It's extremely time consuming and we need to go electronic so these values can be predicted. And actually we built a system where it was creating purchase orders according to our stock levels. So as the stock within the pharmacy started reducing and hit a specific level, we would then put in a new order. And also I could see live what was in the ambulance station, how many tablets, when they used it on a patient. So I was able to predict and say to them, hey, these bags need to be returned to pharmacy, I'll refill them. And it made life, it was a game changer. It made life so much easier. So I can completely understand your stress from that situation. It's very challenging, but good for you. I love this story. Yeah.
It's been like that in the very first year, 2018, and then onwards that I focused to my pharmacy after completing the mandate. So everything went smoother, and I have had more control of everything as a whole, and that the system and the patient portfolio was also settled after the first year, and that I became more confident in the business management as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And the
Yeah, that's
career
great.
has also evolved in the being involved in the national field in the NGO.
Yeah, we're
In
going to get to that in 1 second.
Yeah.
I have one more question about community
sure.
pharmacy. How did you cope in the pandemic with COVID? What kind of changes happened that impacted your community pharmacy?
Yeah, it has drastically evolved everything. So at the time that the countries were all on lockdown, only the community pharmacies and the hospitals were open. I was as part of the executive committee of the National Pharmacist Association back then, that we have regulated the pharmacy working hours. We have decreased all of the community pharmacy working hours and made up more on-call and emergency pharmacies in order to avoid pharmacists getting infected with COVID, so that we would be having more healthcare workers active and in the front line. That not all of them will be also closed due to that. And we have provided with all of the community pharmacies with protective shields, clothing, single use, and a lot of masks, and even barriers that they would be having in their pharmacies, completely provided by the association, so that they would be having themselves protected, and also explaining the patients the use of PPEs, as well as how to apply the hygiene rules. So it has been really good in terms of the number of the cases. And imagine, we have kept all the statistics, and I have presented our results and the survey in last year's FIP Congress in Seville, Spain, that we had zero community pharmacy caused infection. So COVID wasn't spread due to any single community pharmacy, due to the preventive measures that all of the community pharmacists have taken with the help of the National Association.
Oh, that is something to be very proud of. That is very exciting. And you're smiling ear to ear, because that is so exciting. And it's good to be amazing to be part of that. Wow. I'm like, that's great. I love that. I love that story.
All the way, we have provided also, sorry to cut you off. We have also provided at the time with all the guidelines that were created by FIP, the International Pharmaceutical Federation, in line with the WHO's guidelines. So all of the pharmacists were able to access the translated documentation, and we have made sure that everyone is up to date and they're ready to take action in the front line. Because many of the patients were also really afraid to go to the hospitals, getting the virus, and they have all the way coming to the community pharmacies as the first line. And the pandemic has highlighted the very much importance of pharmacy and the role of pharmacists in patient counseling and medication use, and of course as a whole in advocacy and the counseling and the patient care.
I love that. Oh, that's great. I mean, I've loved hearing your story about being a community pharmacist and a business owner, but those are just two little aspects of things that you are involved in within the pharmacy space. You are so much more than a business owner and a community pharmacist, and you have a lot of passion. So I'm just going to transition, I guess, our episode into talking about all the other things that you do as a pharmacist. Where would you like to start?
It's all interconnected, actually. So we can start maybe from the time that we have started with the school. So when we found, I have briefly mentioned about that, and we have been organizing a lot of events, and that we can maybe go with the first touch with the international from the student aspect and come back to the national with the timeline, my pharmacy career timeline. We can say the DNA of my pharmacy.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
so I have started the first Pharmacy Students Association in 2014 while I was still a student in my second year. And in 2015, I have traveled with my colleague, that's co-founder of the association, to India for IPSF's World Congress, which was really one of its kind experience to be involved at first an international congress of the International Pharmaceutical Students Federation, being in touch with a lot of different pharmacy students from different backgrounds, countries, with many more to offer in terms of culture and in terms of how the pharmacy is like in their countries. So at the Congress, we got the membership for EMUPSS, the association. We have presented it to the General Assembly. And then I have mentioned about the student exchange program, the internship program for the pharmacy students worldwide. So I have become the first ever student exchange officer for Cyprus Island. So in the coming year, in 2016, I have started the student exchange program SEP in Cyprus for the first time in the island as well. It has been one another kind on its own, that it's been really unique experience getting to be in touch with different internship fields, different hosts like community pharmacists, research, university, and pharmaceutical industry, finding placements for international students from all over the world, and also creating the space for the Cypriot and the pharmacy students that are studying in Cyprus in order to experience a different pharmacy setting in a different country, to see how pharmacy is like in that country and work there for about like a month. So the internships were ranging from 1 month to 3 months, depending on the country and the setting that they were working on. And I can, with honor, say that I have sent out from Cyprus more than 50 students in the first 2 years. And I have hosted over, I think, hundreds, 100 different students in Cyprus. And I have arranged them a lot of not only scientific, but also social programs, so that they will be also getting to learn about the country and the culture, and that they will be putting on themselves not only professional knowledge or professional experience in order for them to use in their careers and in their CVs, but also something that they would be having in their hearts, that will be with them until their later ages.
Oh, you are just killing it. I love it. I love it. And this is all from the second year as a pharmacy student.
Mm-hmm.
So, people who are watching or listening, you are still just about an adult, and you are here advocating for pharmacy, organizing internships for students to come from abroad to visit Cyprus, so you could showcase what Cyprus had to offer as an island, in terms of the culture and the life, as well as what pharmacy has to offer, and supporting your own country and community within pharmacy to go out and learn about pharmacy elsewhere. I have so many questions now. So, first of all, how did you manage your time because that sounds like a lot of work. And I know that you obviously were involved with that organization and that particular sort of role for a few years. But how did you manage your time in terms of studying for the pharmacy degree and doing all of this work? Because it does sound like it's very time consuming.
Mm-hmm. So I was lucky that I studied all the way in British system. Actually, I studied in A-level system. That I have completed quite a numerous number of A-levels. And in my first year, I was really lucky that everything was super easy for me. In the second year, I had to study quite a lot. And with the establishing, well, I have transformed the social life, the social and the studies balance, that my social was totally becoming the association, because obviously it was all my friends with the association too that we we have been working together, making it to be an escape for us, that even though the organization has been taking a lot of time too, because I have been doing it while enjoying it a lot, um, automatically things fell on its place, that I have been just paying attention to my calendar. I have, at the first time that I have set up my own like Google Calendar, that I have been managing all my things to do list from the agenda there, that I made sure that I have been meeting my own deadlines and fulfilling all the assignments and everything, while attending all my lectures 100%, and making the assignments and quizzes and studying for the exams too. And yeah, so I have been just helping, like getting additional help with the technology, with the digital calendars in order to manage my time.
No, that's great. And I love the way that you put a positive spin on volunteering and creating a group, but also because you're doing it with your friends, it's actually formed part of your social life. So you're socializing your friends whilst doing something good for the pharmacy community. That's a great like little combination. So it's not like you're having to socialize outside. You're just, yeah, combining two things together. That's really smart. I like that. You've clearly demonstrated you are very organized, and that you are determined, and you definitely like to start something and finish it for sure. So I'm really seeing like a lot of skills coming out of this role. And you definitely have to manage your time really well in order to succeed as a student, but also succeed in a voluntary role as well. Use Google Calendar to manage your time. In terms of tasks, are you a paper-based, write everything down, or did you have an app that you use to support you to have like a tick list of all the things that you need to get done?
Yeah, so I have been two-in-one kind of person. I have been having my own agenda under my hand, and also in my phone, a to-do list regularly that I have been just checking with the reminder app. And
Okay.
I also have a whiteboard in my room, standing right next to me, that every single morning I'm checking everything, the deadlines. I write it down every day to update it depending on the timeline. And I make sure that I am well aware of what are my tasks, or what are my thoughts, that I want to make them into a project. So I write everything down on that whiteboard, and make sure that even if I'm having a new idea, a spark of an idea, I just make sure to put it there so that I don't forget. And then I'll be chasing or planning, starting to organize and set up my timeline. And then I structure it into my agenda.
Interesting. I mean, it's useful to ask these questions because obviously there will be students and young people wanting to understand from your perspective how you achieved all of this. And I'm just thinking about second year students here in the UK in general. They are still learning how to be an adult. This is the first time they've potentially left home and not lived with their parents and attending university. So they are learning to be independent adults, managing, cleaning their apartments, having to cook for the first time because they're usually living with their parents. Obviously, you're having to socialize and make friends. And social life here does become a big part of your day-to-day life, especially if you're living in the bigger cities as well. A lot of the students, and it's a great thing, they're going out and enjoying themselves all the time. Whether that's concerts, going out drinking. I mean, the social life here in the UK is definitely enjoyable. But I can see from your perspective that actually it was enjoyable to have that social life with other pharmacy students, but you're actually channeling your skills and putting them to good use. And that's a really good kind of really powerful point to put across on the podcast, because if there are obviously students watching and listening, it's very inspiring to hear that story from you. And you might not think anything of it. You were just enjoying yourself and you were just doing something that you love. But I don't think you realize how incredible that is, because at that time you must have been about 19 or 20 years old. So
Yeah.
go you. I'm putting you on the spot and making you blush, but I think you need, it's a good reflective exercise. Like sometimes on this podcast, people come and they reflect about their life and their career, and then they realize oh my goodness, I've done so much and I just never thought about it before. So yeah, you should be proud of that achievement. So yeah, it's great to hear your story. So from IPSF, take us to, I guess, the other areas of national, international, and let's look at what other organizations that you're working for. What was the next step from there?
Yeah, from IPSF, from what I have learned, I wanted to, as I have been following further as the community pharmacist, and my mandate was over, I wanted to bring all the knowledge that I have learned from the other pharmacists and the pharmacy students and the other how pharmacy is like in other countries. I wanted to implement all those in Cyprus for the new and the good things, so that we would be taking the profession one step further for the things that we have been missing. This is why I have been involved in the National Pharmacist Association at the youngest age, becoming the youngest elected person to the National Pharmacy Board. And yeah, that's how the national journey has started, with having all the faith and trust of my fellow pharmacists in the island, having their votes for me and becoming elected for the board. It has been really one of a kind, again, proud moments. I have had a lot of proud moments. I can right now also understand, differentiate and feel like, oh yeah, just as how you have mentioned and highlighted. I'm really thankful for their trust that they have given for me, and that we could rekindle the association spirit for the international aspect too, because since about 10 years mostly, the association has been focusing solely on the national perspective, that we haven't been focusing on the international aspect. The association's membership, the National Pharmacy Board's membership for the FIP has been taken in, they became members in 1986. And since then, about 20s, there hasn't been much of involvement. So this is why, as I have been highly passionate about the international field, I have been involved in FIP and the National Pharmacist Association. So I have rekindled the bonds and made sure that the pharmacists in Cyprus will be more aware of what the international field is offering for us, because FIP has been all the way organizing a lot of webinars, free of charge seminars and information, and the congresses, that we can have a lot of information exchange and get to improve ourselves in the pharmacy field in many ways. So this is why one of my biggest steps in the association was sharing the information to and from the federation and becoming more involved and creating the statistical database and collection of statistical information and keeping it in records together with my colleagues in the executive committee. And of course, advocating for the rights of the pharmacists in the island.
Oh my goodness. You're just one step after another, like one big, courageous, bold move. I love it. Tell me, how did you actually get onto the board? I mean, just think about a student right now or a very early careers pharmacist. Again, I'm putting you into a position of someone who just is trying to make the right steps towards a similar journey. They hear your story, they're so inspired and just thinking, wow, like you've done so much, and you do have lots to be proud of. Like you say, like there's been some really big moments, but when you look at it, it's hard for someone listening in to just be able to break that down. So I guess, were there any steps that you took to prepare yourself to put yourself into that position where you could get elected onto the board? And, what did you do to kind of get those electoral votes?
Okay, so what I have done was basically at the time of my election for IPSF, because it was an international organization, it captured the attention of the national press that someone from Cyprus got elected in an international board. So this is why it has been a lucky thing for me that the pharmacists in the island got to know about me while there, because it was highlighted in the press. And at the time that I have been attending the meetings of the association, I had the chance to interact and talk with and network with many of them, that I have been sharing just my vision about pharmacy with the conversations that we had and my experiences. And with that, they have been really becoming, oh, wow, this has to be implemented to Cyprus too. You need to take active roles in the association. So they have automatically encouraged me with the people that I have been interacting. And I said that, okay, I will be doing it with the next election, which was coming in several months. And I didn't do any additional promotion or like election-wise promotion. I have just shared my vision for the profession and what I think that needs to be done to improve the profession in the island. That luckily, I was really lucky that the pharmacists were also into having a fresh mind in the board, that they have elected me.
And what is your vision for the pharmacy profession in Cyprus?
So it will be really similar to what FIP is, but I think it's not just FIP, but as a whole, all of the pharmacy organizations in the world, that the mission and the vision is that everyone will be having access to medicines in the safest and easiest possible way, and that the pharmacists are going to be equipped in the best, in the WHO model, at the 8-star pharmacist model, that we will be offering them with continuing professional development strategies and regular checkups with them in terms of like pharmacy business, and the pharmacists themselves, that they will be up to date with the information, all of them, and that they would be making sure that whenever they're doing the counseling, they would be 100% giving themselves that the patient compliance will be increased. And of course, with the rights of the pharmacists are going to be advocated to the fullest in the national and regulation perspective. Because formerly, at the moment, we don't have many of the pharmacists involved in the policy making too. So formerly, I mean. So this is why I have been mentioning about the pharmacists as policymakers too. And this is why this has been making the other pharmacists in the island more enthusiastic about my involvement too, because the association is having a huge say in policy making too, but we had to use it in the correct way, if you know what I mean. So in terms of like discussions and reaching out, becoming more visible in the ministry level and in the governmental level, to actively sharing and becoming more transparent and communicating, as communication is the key. That if we're explaining everything and we're offering our 100% to the public, and that we would be asking for the support of the government, so that pharmacists can do a lot more for the public health, it would be, of course, met. So we have been lacking a lot of communication too. So with that initiation, we have also captured that the updating of the policies and pharmacists being involved in the regulations and decision making has been made possible with those steps.
That's a great vision. And yes, you're right. It obviously aligns really well with the international mission of FIP as well in terms of the vision. So I like that. I guess from this role, you've identified that there is a link between the Pharmacy Association and FIP. So what was your, I guess, your transition into doing work with FIP from that perspective? Because you haven't finished all the extracurricular that you're doing on the side of being a community pharmacist and a pharmacy owner and on the board of a national, pharmacy association. There's still more. And IPSF as well. So yeah, how does in terms of your career journey, what was the link to working with FIP directly?
So by being in the national board, I have taken up the role of the international chair too, while being the treasurer of the association. So I have acted as a liaison to FIP. And during the time, I have been chosen by my association to be proposed to FIP as a council member. So I have been since 2019 as the council member to FIP, and that my journey in FIP has started from being in the council and going to the World Congress and representing Cyprus and pharmacy profession from Cyprus there. And I found more about the young pharmacists back then. And usually from IPSF to FIP, we go through YPG, but automatically via the National Association, I got involved in FIP first, apparently. So it's still like vice versa for me. And
how did it feel representing Cyprus from the international? Like, that sounds very exciting and rewarding, that you've got a role and a position which represents your country. Like, that's amazing. How did that feel?
Truly remarkable, because getting to be voted for such a huge position is really like frightening, honestly, and also really rewarding at the same time, because you'll be representing all of the pharmacists' views to the council, to the other pharmacists from worldwide. So it has been really rewarding to be in the as part of the council, hear the discussions, and also have the role to actively take part, as the council is the decision-making body of FIP2, that they're voting on the decisions, I mean.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And your network will have expanded like exponentially by being part of that. How exciting to actually meet so many different pharmacists from all over the world. And I assume obviously a lot of this is done virtually in terms of the regular meetings. But even if you're on Zoom or Teams and you're meeting all these pharmacists from all over the world, like, that must be really, really amazing to kind of be a part of that journey.
Yeah, it is. And also, like, meeting at the different time zones, like finding the appropriate times to meet with everyone all over the world with different time zones. It's been quite a challenge, but really amazing. Like, I cannot even find the best word to explain the situation, but it's really truly fruitful, amazing to be involved in such huge federation, and getting to network, know a lot of important people from the pharmacy profession in different countries, and interact with them, hearing their opinions. It's always adding up very new experiences and new things to how you see the profession. So it transforms not just the view of the pharmacy profession, but yourself too. Like, after my involvement in the international field, I see myself growing too, and my perspective is evolving with being interacting with many other people from different backgrounds and origins. It always, in a positive way, adds up on the personality and the profession too.
Yeah, I mean, being so young and being involved in such influential positions, for sure, when you're in your 20s and you're a pharmacist, your opinions are quite easily influenced by everything that's happening around you. And your exposure has been so incredible that you've just grown and been a sponge of so much information around you. And all these opinions are coming from you from probably very experienced pharmacists who have a lot more knowledge and skill. And more years in the field of pharmacy by the time they've gotten to the point to be on a council with other international members or on the board of a national pharmacy association. So you definitely will have had a huge but very exciting a learning curve. And I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So much skill would have come out of all of these roles, which I'll ask you about in a second. I've just interrupted you. So yeah, you go first.
So with all the meetings and the high level events, I have been also consulting to many other colleagues, just to make sure that their voices are well represented. And with whatever I have been learning from abroad, I have been bringing this up for another discussion, just to make sure that they're well aware of what is going on and how we can take this or apply it if feasible to the island. So it's been a really good way of initiating new discussion and bringing up all those ideas back to my country and my colleagues.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it would be really important to ask a question about the skills that you've gained throughout this journey. What are your kind of top skills that you think that you've developed significantly by doing all of this work? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is that your communication skills will have improved significantly from the days that you were a student. And even back then, you would have been learning so much, having to communicate through IPSF to so many different countries, to organize all of these internships for your own country and externally as well. So for sure that's a massive win in terms of improving your skill set and communication. What other skills do you feel like you've really excelled at through the experiences that you've been doing?
Yeah, so I think definitely communication and public speaking, as well as project management, because having to organize and manage quite several projects at the same time, it has drastically improved that I can work on different projects at the same time, and also make sure that they're done in the most perfect way as possible, even though there's nothing like perfect. But still, in order to be able to make it in the most organized and the most achievable way, that the colleagues and also from different backgrounds, that they would be looking like, oh, this is something that we can take learn from, take away something from this. So they would be making note, they would be becoming like the projects would be, and the personality would be becoming more influential. I want to be more influential for the people that can learn from me. I am really enthusiastic about sharing what I have learned throughout the way. And by the way, thank you that this podcast is a really great way that the students and also early career pharmacists can take something from my own journey. And I definitely truly think that there is really something that we can learn from anyone on this world, regardless of their origin or their career stage that they're in, because the world is truly evolving, especially in this digitalized world that right now AI is taking the lead, and everything is evolving drastically and really, really fast. There is something that we can learn from each and every person on this planet. So yeah, I have to like summarize. I think that I have been truly improved in the communication skills, just as how you have mentioned, and networking and public speaking. Because I haven't had the courage to go on stage and deliver presentation. In my high school times, I was the shy student, shy and nerd student. And then in the university, suddenly I have just evolved into someone that's doing a lot of presentations and meeting with many other friends and promoting. Yeah. So
Yeah,
project
that's
management,
great.
communication. Yeah.
So have you evolved from notes on your phone and Google Calendar and your task lists on your white calendar in terms of project management? Are you using any specific apps which support you to manage all the projects that you're working on at the moment?
So I don't have any particular app for the projects and the progress managing. I'm still on like old school with that, with the projects,
Cool.
with the I have been using everything on the drive, like putting and storing everything on the drive. I have live working document that whenever I have something in my mind, just as how I have mentioned, whenever I wake up in the morning, first thing I note down all those ideas and I make sure that everything is on the drive. That whenever I log in from the phone or from the tablet, I can just add it online to the document too, in case that I would be having a new idea. And one section that could be incorporated into the report or maybe incorporated into the project. Yeah.
No, that's great. It's good to be old school and whatever works for you. In terms of project management, in the last few years, I've discovered two apps actually, and
Mm-hmm.
initially they came out through the podcast because there was just so much to manage in terms
Mm-hmm.
of people I'm interviewing, when am I interviewing, when are the podcasts getting scheduled, the social media, the emails, going on LinkedIn and actually connecting with people, attending, networking events or conferences where I can meet people that I can potentially
Mm-hmm.
ask to come on. Like there was so much to do in the initial stages, and it felt very overwhelming to record it on paper or in a Word document or just a task list because there were just so many things that needed to be timetabled. So I started using, and I also was collaborating with my husband at the time, who was supporting me with some of the editing of the podcast. So he needed to know, which episodes are coming out, when are they coming out, and what's my workflow. So we started using an app called Trello. And then we moved over to Asana because I use Asana now at work for project management, which I absolutely love and I would highly recommend using it. Everything's kind of on one platform. You can have your tasks and you have tick lists. Everything can be timetabled. You tick things off as they get completed. You can add all your documents. People can collaborate with you. You can chat to each other and send each other messages. So everything's on one platform, which is so nice. And it's been a real game changer. You just kind of open that up in the morning, go to my tasks. And if you're organized with inputting the information, you know exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, and how fast you need to do it. So it makes your time management a lot more efficient, which I love because I'm all about being organized. So yeah, that's been amazing. But of course, the old school way, and to be honest, sometimes I like to use my notebook and literally just plot everything on my brain onto paper because it's just such an easy, efficient, fast way to get everything I want out onto a notebook. And then I kind of transfer it to digital later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I also travel a lot on the train. So I try not to use my phone all the time because you're constantly staring at a screen. So I kind of like using my notebook to log everything because it's such a reflective way of writing, and I can doodle and I can do little clouds and arrows and all the fun stuff that comes with making lists. And I like that visual kind of aspect. So yeah, it's nice to hear how you're managing your time. I also want to know, of course, the main kind of aspect of this, the reason why we are doing this podcast episode is because your involvement with FIP grew, where you started getting involved with the Early Careers Pharmaceutical group.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us your journey as to how that started, what the group is about, what their kind of mission is, how that began, and yeah, give everyone an idea of what the ECPGs are doing.
Yeah. So ECPG is actually a network of young and early career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists within FIP as structure under the International Pharmaceutical Federation. it has been officially founded under the name Young Pharmacists Group in 2001. And since then, they have been representing young pharmacists within the federation, even though they have been all the way part of FIP since many years, since FIP's foundation. And ECPG, the name Early Career Pharmaceutical Group, we have updated it in 2022 from YPG to ECPG in order to be more involving, to be able to represent with the name too the pharmaceutical scientists and pharmacy educators, because we're not pharmacists only, and that for ECPG, the membership can be up to 8 years after graduation of the first pharmacy degree. And pharmacy degree cannot be the first degree of other early career pharmacists, that they can study pharmacy as their second or third profession. So this is why we do represent young and early career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists worldwide up to 8 years after their graduation. And we do not have the age limit anymore. We had 35 years of age limit, but as you know, having the second profession as the pharmacist graduating from the pharmacy school, as it's not a short time of the duration of the school studies. So we're representing pharmacists, pharmacy educators, as well as the pharmaceutical scientists from worldwide, and we're having over 1,000 different members from over 100 different countries within FIP ECPG. And with the one other update that we've had last year was the extension of duration of term of the president from 1 year to 2 years in order to be better in line with FIP and to be more sustainable, that the projects that the president will be starting will be completed by the president in the 2 years of term with the steering committee members. So we're having about over 30 subcommittee members from different countries, and we're having liaisons to each and every section and special interest group under FIP that are falling under the Board of Pharmaceutical Practices and the Board of Pharmaceutical Sciences. So under Board of Pharmaceutical Sciences, there are the special interest groups that are focused on the pharmaceutical sciences. It can be drug development, manufacturing, drug design, etc. And for the sections that are falling under the Board of Pharmaceutical Practice, it is ranging from community pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, industrial pharmacy, social and administrative pharmacy section, as well as the health and medicines information section. So we're having liaisons to each and every of the mentioned sections and SIGs, the structures under FIP, and we make sure that there are young and early career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists represented within FIP in those sections and SIGs, and that the younger generation can take part in the activities of the federation and those structures and help and learn from them so that they can bring it to ECPG and share updates from ECPG to FIP. So we're having a lot of projects ongoing within ECPG as well.
So much exciting stuff happening, which is really great. How has it been kind of getting involved from your perspective? Because actually it aligns really well to your general mission and your vision, and obviously advocating for young people. How does it feel to currently be the ECPG president? Another exciting title to add to your list.
Yeah, it is really exciting to also again have the trust of the international field, international members that I didn't know most of them that they have voted for my application as well as motivation for the position back in 2021. So when I applied after being as part of the subcommittee in the team, so after that, I have applied with the motivation and I got the trust. It has been another exciting journey for me. And we have set up with my steering committee the theme of connection and collaboration so that we would be creating more areas of connection for our members. So more fields that they can get to actually network with other FIP professionals so that they would be expanding their network, learning from the professionals, advanced career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists, and they will be getting more help or like locating themselves better in when deciding for which career that they wish to specialize at, or if there is another career field that they would be feeling more connected to, that they would like to switch to that if it is more motivating for them to do every day daily.
It fits quite well in line with, I guess, my vision with this podcast, of course. We're looking at pharmacy careers and we're advocating for all the different options and the variety that the pharmacy career has to offer. But we're also looking at helping young people to see where their skills align with different jobs and also see what they're passionate at, see what they enjoy doing, and finding the right job that fits all of that kind of criteria combined. So I love that there's some alignment in what you're doing and obviously what I'm doing as well, which is what kind of connected us together in the first place, right?
Yes, indeed, exactly. So this is why we actually get into contact, and we're connected with the same goals, and we're aligned together. This is like, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me, if you were a member, how often do the members kind of meet, and when they do meet, I assume virtually, obviously, because of the international network. What kind of discussions are there in the meetings, or what kind of objectives do you have within those meetings? Because it's quite useful if someone was to watch this podcast or listen in, and they're thinking, oh yeah, maybe I should become a member. I guess we've talked a little bit about the benefits, but how often do you connect with each other?
So since 2 years at the time of my involvement as the steering committee member, we have organized several networking events for our members, and we have made it in the regional way. So we're having not only individual members, but we're also having national organizational members for the early career pharmacists as part of our membership. So we're having the early career pharmaceutical organizations network too. And we have divided the world into regions, similarly to the UN and the WHO's regions. And we have been organizing our networking events based on those regional and that we have been aiming to have not too frequent, but not too less. So quarter meetings for regional networking events. And we are at the moment planning on having ECPO, the Early Career Pharmaceutical Organizations networking events, so that this would be a great medium for the organizations and their members, that they will be getting to know about the work of the other organizations that they have been organizing in their countries or locally in their cities, so that this will be information sharing, how the organization is working in their countries as and what are the events that they're doing. And in terms of the individual networking events that we have hosted, we have invited the leaders of the sections and SIGs to give information about what did they do in the sections, so that the individual members of ECPG would be knowing and getting to know more information, and they will be having the chance to direct their questions to the professionals there at the networking events. So we've hosted quite a several, including the community pharmacy section, the hospital pharmacy section, and industrial pharmacy section, that the members had the chance to join and listen to what are the activities that those sections are doing in addition to ECPG, and how they can get involved in ECPG, and they can take their further steps if they're interested in on how to become involved in those further sections and the special interest groups if they wish to strive for an international career.
I love that. And so much opportunity to meet other people from around the world. And obviously the digital space now with meeting virtually makes life so much easier. This year, FIP are doing their Congress in Brisbane, in Australia, which is going to be so exciting in September. And I have seen that the ECPG has been doing a lot of social media posts in relation to advertising this event. I assume that you're going?
Yeah, I will be there.
Amazing. That's going to be so much fun. Have you been to Australia before?
No, it's going to be my first time, and I'm really excited about it. Not only because that I will be for the first time in Australia, but mainly that we are organizing an exclusive package for the World Congress for the young pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists with the students. So we're collaborating with IPSF and ECPG joint collaboration, and we have organized a special package for the early career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists and the students, that the registration for the Congress and accommodation and several social events are all included. Not only those, but also we're having the leadership development workshop that will be happening at the weekend of the pre-Congress. So on 23rd and 24th of September for the leadership development workshop. And we're also having parallel sessions that there will be AI in a lab box session. So we'll be getting to learn more about how the artificial intelligence and the AI lab box are applied in pharmacy profession, with the representatives from AIDR. And that we are also going to be organizing a hackathon for the participants of the package on the 24th, that they will be having real life problems, and they will be producing solutions based on the 3 topics that we have chosen, which are the priority fields for FIP and ECPG, that are the NCDs, non-communicable diseases, which is also in super highly prioritized topic at which has been the highly prioritized topic at the WHO as well this year. And the communicable diseases and the rare diseases, because we're collaborating with IPSF for a special toolkit for advocacy for pharmacists and pharmacy students for that. And all of these 3 different topics are going to be incorporated with digital health, and the students and the early career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists will be having to create solutions for the problems that we'll be having at the Congress.
Oh my goodness, that sounds so much fun. If only I was so many years younger, I would definitely register for that. Yes, no, I will put all the links in the show notes for the podcast episode for the World Congress, because that is really exciting, as well as obviously all the FIP links and the ECPG links and social media. I can't wait to share that with everybody. There'll be lots of students tuning into the episode who would be hopefully keen to join the group, right?
Yeah.
I'd
There
really
is a lot of opportunity. There are a lot of opportunities that where not only the early career pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists can actually take part, but also the students, because we're representing students, early career pharmacists, pharmaceutical scientists, and pharmacy educators. So there's always a place where you can get started from, and we'll be having our subcommittee call going live in late November. So they will be also having the chance to apply for becoming as part of the subcommittee.
Oh, exciting. Where can they find information on that?
It's all available on our social media channels as well as website, which was updated recently with the most up-to-date information from our representations as well. And whenever they're having any additional questions, they can just send me an email at ecpg@fip.org. I'll be happy to answer it.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Because, hopefully people will reach out for more information. I am very aware that I've taken lots of your time, and we have learned so much about you on this podcast episode, and so much about Cyprus, so much about your journey, your determination as a pharmacist, and also your determination to advocate for the pharmacy profession. I'd like to say I'm truly proud to have had this conversation with you and hear your story. It's wonderful to see how involved you've been from a very early stage of your student life. And, I absolutely wish you all the best for what is going to be a very exciting future.
Thank you so much for this podcast and this time that we have spent. I actually didn't feel it. I have just seen it in front of me that the time has been already quite a long time,
Yes,
but I
yes.
didn't feel it. Thank you. It's been really lovely to have this conversation with you. I didn't feel the time flying.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear it. Obviously, our relationship will continue offline, and I'm so pleased that we've had the opportunity to record, but also to network and become new friends.
Yeah, thank you so much.